Hi everyone, this is seller newsletter number 2 for the spring 2026 sale. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So one of the most common questions we get from sellers is how to make it so that their items are more likely to sell. So the first thing is items that are brought in clean. And so per the quality requirements, we do pull items that are too dirty. Any clothing with stains, anything like that does get pulled. But just in general, something to keep in mind is that if an item is not clean, it is probably not going to sell. So when folks look at items, even outdoor toys, things that you know will get dirty if children are using them, if they come into the sale dirty, folks have a hard time picturing their kids using that item, and so they're going to be less likely to pick it up. So take the time, wipe it down, clean it up, make it look nice, so that folks will want to buy it. With clothing, like I said, any stains, anything is not allowed at our sale, even if it's indicated on the tag. It's just not allowed. There is a post that I linked in the email that I really like that gives some tips for getting stains out of clothing, because I understand how frustrating that is when you go through items and you're like, oh, this used to be nice and they got a stain on it. So definitely really check on infant, checks around the necks. A lot of times the clothing that you put away totally clean, totally beautiful, you pull out and the spit up stains will often yellow over time, and so really watch that. Make sure you're checking for those things. Make sure you check sleeves, backs of the items, make sure that they're clean. Okay. People want to know things work. So if an item requires batteries, please put fresh batteries in, or make sure they have batteries that work, and then just include that in the price of the item. You can typically get pretty cheap batteries, places like Dollar Tree, Dollar General, things like that. Pricing can be a little tricky. We totally understand. It's probably the most challenging thing for most of our new consigners. And so what we have a guide that we like to refer to, that we linked in the email. But basically, for larger items, you're going to go at about 30% of retail price, meaning the price that you currently could go buy that item for in the store. So if that's an item that was, $250 when you purchased it, but now is being sold for $210, you need to use that $210 price point, because that's what folks are going to be referencing. So start at 30% of that, and then you can go up a little bit if it's in perfect condition, never used, new in box, whatever. You need to go down a little bit though if it's got some wear to it, and just kind of keep that in mind. A trend that we noticed last sale, and that every sale in the country is noticing, is that people want good deals right now. They want to feel like they're getting good deals. They come to sales like this because they want really good deals. We have a lot of new shoppers, a lot of folks who have not previously done consignment sales, who are starting to come to our sales because they really, really want those good deals. So price accordingly. You really got to price competitively if you want your item to be the one that they pick up and take home. And with that, keep in mind, I know sometimes it can be really hard to price items because you hold memories and attachments to those items, or maybe it was a particularly helpful item to you. And so you see it as extremely valuable, and I totally sympathize with this. I've been there. Really try to look at it objectively, look at what somebody actually would be willing to pay for that item, because the person purchasing it doesn't have those memories attached. Okay, so packaging. We get a lot of questions about packaging. So first off, feel free to always ask if you need tips on how to pack something. In the email, I've included some pictures of some particularly well packaged items. And so take a look at those, and those will give you an idea of how other folks have successfully packaged items. I also have a video that's on our YouTube channel, and it's on the website, where it's like a walkthrough a Friday morning at the sale. I can't remember exactly how. It's something to do with preparing your items for the sale. But it's a really good one to watch, especially if you've never shopped our sale before and you are selling this time. It'll give you an idea of what our sales floor layout looks like, and give you an idea of how other folks package, and also just help you understand why it's really crucial that things are prepared uniformly and consistently and packaged well. So with packing, make sure they can see the item. Some items that's really hard to do. So bedding is an excellent example of this. It's really hard to see a full design, to see what's included, everything. I encourage you to tape on stock photos, or even photos of that actual item. I also am totally happy with and encourage including like a list of the items included. So bedding, for example, You might have a list on there that says this includes the comforter, fitted sheet, sham, whatever. And then that way people can actually see what they're purchasing. And also make sure when you're packaging that you are packaging all those little pieces together and well. One thing that is really frustrating for sellers when they pick up items is when something is missing a piece, and 99% of the time the reason that it's missing a piece is because it was not packaged properly. So keep in mind there are going to be hundreds of shoppers touching that item, even if they're not shopping for your item, they're moving it around, whatever. Volunteers are going to be moving it around the sales floor. There are also going to be little hands there checking things out. If you have loose pieces, they will find them and they will carry them 12 feet away before they set them back down. So make sure that you are attaching all those little pieces, bagging them up, taping them on there, whatever you got to do to make them stay on there. This was something we saw increased a lot last time and was kind of became a problem. And so we're going to have to be a little bit more ruthless when it comes to pulling items from the floor. If we think it's going to make a mess, if we think it's just going to lose pieces, we may not have time to repackage that for you and are just going to have to take it from the floor. So please make sure you are packaging your items appropriately for a consignment sale that sees hundreds of shoppers. Okay, and also just remember some categories are just tough sells. So price accordingly. Try to, think about how many folks shop for items like this, things like that when you are pricing. And then finally, kind of like I said, we do have particular ways that we want, especially clothing prepared. So check out our website, make sure you understand how to prepare the items for the sale and prepare them properly. Okay, appointments. Every single seller needs to make a drop-off appointment. And so those are in your consignor workstation. You also need a pickup appointment if you are planning to pick up any unsold items. So even if you just have one item that you think you want to pick up, if it doesn't sell, you are going to need a pickup appointment. If you end up not needing it because that item sells, cool, not a problem. But I want you to have it so that we can keep things flowing well that day of pickup. Okay, so donation. This is a question I get a lot. What happens to items that you mark for a donation? So you might notice when you are marking items in the seller workstation that you have the option to mark it for donate. So the way that works, those items go on our sales floor exactly the same as every single other item. They stay out there the entire time. They are out there until the end of the sale, just like all of our other items. Once the sale is over, we take the donation items and put them in another pile, in another side of the room, okay? We have kind of a multi-phase thing that happens with the donations. So first off is something we're really proud of, and it's called an after-sale donation party. And so what happens is we send invitations to community organizations who work with families in need. So we give those invitations to them and they will get them to their families that they are working with. And those families can bring those invitations as sort of an admission to this donation party, and they get to shop for their families. They just don't have to pay. So we are really proud of this because we have a very strong value in folks being able to shop with dignity and being able to choose items for their children. We think that's really important and we want to give them the opportunity to do that. And so that's why we like to do that first. So then items are left over from that. So primarily they go to Judy from Toys for Manhattan. And she's fantastic because she will pick up everything and distribute them around town to places that she knows are needing them. So if she knows a certain organization is in the need of a stroller, she will direct it to that organization, whatever. We also will occasionally Fit Closet, which is a local organization here in town, will come get some clothing. We've got a couple other organizations in town that if they're looking for particular items, we will work with them. But what we want you to know is that your donations stay local. We are very big on keeping those local to help local families. And I'm not taking them home. I don't want them. So my youngest is 13. I promise I do not want any of your baby clothes. Doesn't help me out at all. Okay, one final very important thing is that volunteer registration opens this Saturday at 9 a.m. So volunteers do get to shop before sellers. As a seller, you get to shop the Friday night before the sale at 6:30. Volunteers get to start before you. So if you want to shop earlier, grab a volunteer position. You can just do that right through your seller workstation, super easy. And then you are able to share your seller's pass with somebody else. So you can pass that on to somebody else, and I'll talk more about that in the coming weeks. But that's everything. If you've joined since last week, if you signed up just this past week, make sure to check out Seller Newsletter number 1 to help get you up to speed. And then of course, remember to be checking our website for all of the requirements for selling. Let us know if you have any questions. Thanks.